All right, so this video is going to be about the quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula is cool because you can use it for any quadratic expression to find the solutions. This is the equation. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and then all of that over 2a. And when we talk about a, b, and c, we're talking about a standard form where a quadratic expression is written as ax squared plus bx plus c. So that's standard form. You're going to pull those out. So let's get started with an example. So for example, if we have 2x squared plus 3x plus 4, for example. In this case, a equals 2, b equals 3, and c equals 4. So we just plug these in. So negative b is 3. So that'd be 3. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, which would be 3 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 4. And then all of that over 2 times a, which is 2. So now what we do is we simplify. Always try to simplify what's inside the square root first. So we negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 4 times 2 is 8, times 4 is 32, over 2 times 2 is 4. So in this case, we end up with negative 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 23 over 4, which, if you remember, having a negative inside the square root is not good. Not a good thing. You can't do it. You get unreal solutions. So this is as far as we can take this problem. Let's do another example. Let's say, for example, we have x squared plus 2x plus 1. So in this case, a equals 1, b equals 2, and c equals 1. So this would be negative b, which is 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 2, squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 1. All of that over 2 times a, which is 1. So we end up with negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4 times 1 times 1 is 4. All of that over 2. So that'd be negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2, which the square root of 0 is just 0. So that'd be negative 2 plus or minus 0 over 2, which if you add or subtract 0, you get the same exact number. So we end up with negative 2 over 2, or when we simplify, negative 1. That would be our single solution for this problem. Let's do one more. So let's say we have x squared plus 3x. Let me grab one. So x squared minus x minus 12. So in this case, a equals 1, b equals negative 1, and c equals negative 12. So we plug this in, negative b, so it's going to be negative 1, plus or minus the square root b squared, so negative 1 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 12. All of that over 2 times a, which is 1. So this ends up being negative times a negative is a positive, so 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 4 times negative 12 would be negative 48 over 2 times 1, which is 2. So that'd be 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 48, which is 49, over 2. Square root of 49 is just 7. So that'd be 1 plus or minus 7 over 2. Now we split it into two problems because plus or minus means that we have two solutions. We need to try out plus, and then we need to try out minus. So 1 plus 7 over 2 is going to be one of our solutions, and 1 minus 7 over 2. Of course, we have to simplify. So that'd be 1 plus 7 is 8 over 2, which is 4. And 1 minus 7 is negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. Those are our two solutions. Now keep in mind, if we ask for exact answers and you end up with a radical, make sure you keep it as a radical. If we ask for an approximate answer, make sure you plug it in your calculator and you'll get a decimal that you'll have to round. That's about it for these kinds of problems. Quadratic formula, very simple but very useful. Works for every single quadratic expression.